and players mobbing.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by PrizePicks and the Game Time app.
Hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Big Three NBA podcast. I'm Sherrod Blakely, and I am joined by ClutchPoints Josue Pavon. What's going on, Josue?
Nothing much, man. How are you? It's good to be back in town. I mean, back in the East Coast, enjoying my summer with my family, man. It's been a nice little off season. Nice break for sure. How you been?
I'm good. And for those who don't know, Josue left Boston where he covered the Celtics to then go and cover the Oklahoma City Thunder this past season for ClutchPoints. And look at that. They win a championship. He leaves Boston, but before he leaves Boston, they win a championship. The only thing I'm wondering at this point, Josue, is why hasn't Ime Udoka reached out to you? Why hasn't Ty Lue in LA reached out to you? Why hasn't Jokic and his crew in Denver reached out to you? Because clearly where you go, championships soon follow. What's going on?
Yeah, Sherrod, I'm thinking if this team goes back-to-back, I might get that phone call. I mean, you never know, especially for someone like Ime, who maybe not remember, that run in 2022. And then I remember catching up with him a little bit when the Thunder faced the Rockets towards the end of the regular season last year. So that was cool. I mean, he didn't say anything about Boston, but, the good luck has been there for sure back-to-back years. We'll see what happens this year, man. I can't wait for this upcoming season. We'll get into it for sure, but there's going to be a few teams knocking at that door for sure, man. I don't think it's going to be as a quick back-to-back like we saw with the Warriors, but it is a possibility, no question.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into that. And again, just to recap really quick, Oklahoma City Thunder won the franchise's first NBA title in Oklahoma City.
Yes,
previously, they were with the Seattle Supersonics, and they won a title back in the late 70s, their only title prior to this one. And a big part of their success, it kind of goes without saying, but we got to say it anyway because folks may not know. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander pulled off one of the rare trifectas in the NBA, and that is winning league title, winning an NBA championship, and being NBA Finals MVP. And I guess the thing that me and I think a lot of people are wondering when we think about SGA is as good as he was this past season and all the accolades and praise and all that, what is bro man going to do for an encore? Because it's pretty damn hard to top what he did last season.
Absolutely, man. That's the question. I mean, scoring champion, MVP of the Western Conference Finals, MVP of the NBA Finals, and, of course, MVP of the regular season, man. It was, no question, a season that I've never seen from a player since I've been doing this, man, if I'm being completely honest here for sure. And to see it firsthand, up close and personal, man, it was unbelievable. And I think what the biggest takeaways, and I'm sure is something that people talk about a lot, is just how humble he was throughout this entire process, just how humble he was in the sense of not getting too into the hype that was surrounding the kind of season he was having. And I felt like much like great leaders do, right? The rest of the team followed that same mindset, whether it's the good or the bad. They just drawn it all out. This is the first time in, how many X amount of years, or, hey, this is the first time, a team this young, they just drowned all that out. And to see them put it together the way they did in a grueling 7-game series against the Indiana Pacers was unbelievable, man. Now these guys are taking a victory lap. It's been unbelievable to see just, this offseason, the way it's all played out. I mean, he got the keys to the city in Hamilton, right outside in Canada, outside of Toronto. Got a street named after him. Isaiah Joe, went back to his hometown in Mississippi, and they threw him a little parade as well in the sense of the fact that he has a teammate that was a high school teammate, and then they meet up in the NBA and Jalen Williams, the Wise, we call, make sure you guys differentiate, not J-Dub, the other one, Jalen Williams and Isaiah Joe being able to celebrate in their hometown. Jalen Williams going back home, and just getting all that love. It's been an incredible offseason. And now some of these guys are overseas, so they're still sort of enjoying it. But they're going to know what time it is, man, when they get back and when it comes to defending this title. And I can't wait to see it all pan out.
Yeah, I mean, having covered teams that have won NBA titles, the one thing that they all have said is that as tough as it was to win a championship, repeating is even tougher because teams are, they're more locked in than they were previously towards you because they know that you literally have what they want.
Right.
And Again, we're talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and just how just amazingly awesome he was last season. And, in the spirit of the offseason, we're going to play a little game, Josue, a little game action we got here.
Okay.
A little game I like to call pick and roll. And we're going to play this SGA style pick and roll. Now, we talked about all the accolades and praise and all NBA and all that other stuff that he was able to rack up last season. But pick and roll for you. And again, you're going to pick one of these options, and then you're going to roll with it and explain why you picked that. Now, with SGA, we're going to narrow it down to league MVP or second straight NBA title. Which is more likely to happen this season?
I'm going to go second NBA title. But like I said off the top, man, this will not be what we saw last year. I mean, the sense of the success we saw in the regular season, it could be, does this team win, 70 games? Maybe. I wouldn't say that, but in the sense of them competing and remaining at the top tier of the Western Conference, I think that stays the same. And I just think a lot of going into this season is going to have to do with just them getting things done from a team standpoint. Not to say that SGA is going to tone it down a bit, but I'm going to go with seeing these guys repeat. The likelihood of that happening over him going back to back with MVPs, but he could certainly be in the conversation for sure. As you look at his age, look at his timeline. I mean, he's approaching or maybe just starting his prime years, depending on how you want to assess a player of his stature. Guards historically. I mean, this is typically around when the prime years start. So I don't think he slows down in a sense. But if I had to predict out of the two, I'm going back-to-back champions.
I'm going to go league MVP on this one. And here's why. You started going down the road that I'm going to drive my Mack truck through when it comes to this particular question. I think the fact that he is young, the fact that he is, when you look at his game, other than health, I don't know how you defend and stop what he does. And he has the ultimate, he's got the green lantern, green light when it comes to taking shots. And, Jalen Williams is a very good player and has really embraced, being that top tier Robin, if you will. Mm-hmm. But Shai Gilgeous is going to put up similar, if not better numbers next season. And there's not a whole lot you can do defensively to stop him because he has such a kind of quirky, jerky, unorthodox way of getting open. And the one thing that he does that I think separates him from a lot of the guys that put up big numbers is he uses all the real estate on the court. He's not a guy like Steph Curry who's just going to absolutely just torch you from deep. He's not going to look to dunk on you every other possession the way Giannis Antetokounmpo will. And he doesn't necessarily do the all-around stuff that Jokic does. But what he does is he can shoot the three. He can use up a lot of the real estate when he wants to. And he has the ability to finish at the rim. And to me, when you have a guy that isn't even at, I think, the top of his game yet, and he still has levels he can get to, and he has just the diversity of skill set in his bag that he does, I think there's a much greater chance of him winning a second straight league MVP than there will be of him winning his second title. Because as you pointed, listen, man, when the season starts, it's going to be like Hunger Games every night in the West. There are no nights off. The only team that I look at in the Western Conference that I feel is probably not going to be giving their all to win night in and night out is the Utah Jazz. I think every other team in the Western Conference is going to be playing with something to prove, whether it's getting to the play-in game, whether it's getting out of the first round of the playoffs, whether it's getting to win an NBA title. There's going to be something at stake night in and night out. It's going to force a lot of teams to re-examine this whole load management theory because you can't rest your best players on any given night in the Western Conference this year. And I do think that because all of that is happening and Oklahoma City is going to have to, frankly, they're going to have to shake off that championship hangover that all championship teams go through. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to win another title. And, again, I go back to something you pointed out about how they won 7 games with Indiana. I think it's fair to say that Indiana was playing the best basketball at the end of the season, but I don't think most people would think that they were the best team out of the Eastern Conference last season. And I just think that for Oklahoma City, their ability to find a way to get out of the Western Conference, which is going to be, again, Hunger Games like we've never seen it before in the NBA, is going to be, I think, a victory in itself if they can even get back to the finals. But my gut tells me, because of how watered down the Eastern Conference is, whoever is like the best team during the regular season is probably going to be the best team that you're going to see in the NBA Finals. And therefore, part of me thinks that Oklahoma City is going to be so beaten down mentally and emotionally that by the time they get to the finals, they're going to be very vulnerable for a team in the East that's probably playing really good basketball and probably wasn't as challenged throughout the course of the season the way they are. So it is going.
That's a fair point. I mean, like you said from the top, I mean, you had that target on your back when you're the champion. So it's always that, okay, let's see how good these guys are. You're going to get everyone's, best effort. Guys are going to get extra sleep right before they play. You know what I mean? I don't think they got that last year much, because it was sort of like, okay, yeah, these guys are good, but like they're too young to win a championship, right? Like that was the narrative, right? Or when it comes down to it, how much they have left. But I think one thing that people could also be overlooking going into the season is just these strides that other guys, are destined to hit. And I'm not just talking about SGA, Jalen Williams, all pretty much the three guys who got max money, generational wealth, if you will, during this offseason. But the other guys, guys like Cason Wallace, guys like like the Isaiah Joes, you know what I mean? Like these guys are so young and experienced now and battle tested that you wonder what that next leap is going to look like, especially when you look at someone like Cason Wallace, who all he knows is winning. Like he wasn't around when the Thunder were still, trying to keep assets or they still have assets, but back when they were, squeezing into the playoffs and trying to make some noise, he's all he's known is winning 60 plus games, and that's so rare for a lot of NBA players in the first 3 years of their career. So I can't wait to see what kind of strides these guys make. I mean, I think there's a reason why most of this team is going to be coming back next year, and I think that's it. They want to see the development from the younger guys and from the the supporting cast, if you will. And I think a lot of that has sort of set the tone with other top tier teams. Teams that might have thought that, okay, we have the core to move forward, but what about the supporting guys? I mean, you look at teams like the Denver Nuggets and, I mean, we'll get into it, of course, but like, I just think a lot of that has to do with what the champions just showed everybody. And you could say that last year. Remember when after the Celtics won, all of a sudden everyone wants to jack up 55, 63s, right. Even though they may not have the personnel for it, but it's because that's what they saw, and I think a lot of that is going to go into this upcoming season. Of course you can talk about the CBA and all that and how important, having 8 strong 8-man rotation is moving forward now compared to what was before, whereas it was like, oh, you had a big 3, you just add a couple pieces and they'll figure it out. That's such the era that we just closed out on, if you will, the big 3 era. And I think that the Thunder have put together just the best example of what that looks like in winning a championship the way they did.
Yeah, absolutely. And, before we go any further, this is the Big 3 NBA podcast. I'm Sherrod Blakely, and I'm joined by Josue Pavon of ClutchPoints. And Josue, something that you touched on a little bit earlier, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper into that. And I think we're both in agreement that the road to getting a second straight title is going to be much more rugged than it was for OKC this past year, winning, the franchise first in OKC. But there are certain teams that I think kind of stand out from the pack, that they are going to have to be on their P's and Q's for this season. And I want to get your take on the 3 biggest challenges you see out there in the Western Conference or in the NBA as a whole to Oklahoma City's chances of repeating. But before you answer that question, I want to just our audience to just show some love to our good friends at PrizePicks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download the app today and get a $50 bonus after your first $5 lineup. And as a friendly reminder, again, you are listening to the Big 3 NBA podcast, part of the CLNS Media Network, where you can find lots of great Celtics-related content, ours as well as some of our colleagues in the CLNS Media Network family. And that being said, Josue, I want to just jump right into it. Who do you see as like the top 3 challengers to Oklahoma City as they look to repeat this year?
Denver.
It doesn't have to be in its order. It's just the top 3 teams. It doesn't have to be in a specific order. Just the 3.
I'm gonna go in order. I'm gonna say Denver. Like maybe by a mile. I don't know. We got to see how it looks, but man, they look really good on paper. And to my point about teams trying to enhance that supporting cast to help their core players. You look at what they did in the sense of going and getting their Isaiah Hartenstein, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. Like another rim protector in Valanciunas, I think is significant when you look at the way that front court is already set up. You got shooting and Tim Hardaway Jr. that they added. You upgraded Michael Porter Jr. with Cam Johnson, which I thought was an underrated move on their part. And then you added shooting, right? Tim Hardaway Jr. I just think that those are the pieces that really remind me of the Thunder when you think of guys like Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, between Isaiah Joe, Case and Wallace, those interchangeable pieces that may not be starters, but can close out games for you and just really cause fits in the sense of just protecting the rim and taking away those easy buckets the way we saw between those combinations with Isaiah Hartenstein or, Chet Holmgren, who had 5 blocks in that deciding game in game 7, and obviously, between Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein and guys like Jalen Williams coming off the bench. So I just think the way Denver is set up and the way things played out last year, man, that game 7, sure, it wasn't as close as the Denver Nuggets fans would have expected, but they really did push the Thunder to the brink. They were the only team in the Western Conference to do that. And I just think during this summer, they undoubtedly got better. So that's going to be a matchup. I can't wait to see what that looks like. And then I'm going to go Houston. Man, Thunder's old friend, or not so friend, ex-friend, if you will. Kevin Durant joins the Rockets, setting up a heck of a home opener, which I can't wait to see what that looks like on ring night. Everyone knows, or maybe the younger audience, maybe they forgot, but he left the Thunder high and dry to go win championships with the Warriors, and people don't forget, right? I mean, Thunder fans certainly haven't forgotten that. So that's that's the way the season starts off, and the Houston Rockets are only going to get better, if you ask me. I mean, this team not only finished in the top, upper echelon of the Western Conference, but now they have a closer, a scorer, still a premier scorer, in my opinion, even this late in his career, surrounded by guys who can defend at a high level. Ime Udoka, I mean, we all know from covering the Celtics in those 2 seasons, just what he's been able to do in Houston since then. He's really got these guys dialed in to defend at a high level. And with Kevin Durant, I think this is a legitimate threat for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then for the third team, I'm going to go out east and say the Cleveland Cavs. I mean, let's not sleep on these guys. This is a team that just got hit with injuries at the absolute worst time during the playoffs last year. I mean, they dominated in the sense of just staying at number 1 all season long. What was it, 18-0 they started the season? They did it again at some point, right, with another crazy winning streak. And again, those injuries just really derailed these guys at the wrong time. But they're all locked in, right? I mean, that's a core that I don't think is going to, break up anytime soon. I love what they did with bringing in Lonzo Ball, another facilitator that can help out, of course, an experienced guy could defend as well. I just think a lot of what they've done last season, and what they went through, it's only going to make them stronger. So barring any major injuries, I say they win the East again this season. And I think they're a legitimate challenge for the Thunder if they're able to make it to the NBA Finals. Now I say if, with the New York Knicks in mind. I think I go second in terms of like the top 2 teams in the East. I'll go the Knicks, but the reason I'm going out East, Sherrod, is because I just think when you look at the rest of the Western Conference, it's a lot of question marks, right? The Minnesota Timberwolves there, they might be a distant third if we're just talking Western Conference, right? What are the Lakers going to look like with Ayton and this revamped, Luka Doncic? I don't have any doubts about the Doncic part, but the rest, I don't know. It's a coin flip. And then you got the OG, I don't know what you want to call it, the OGs of the past 10 years Clippers. Like how much do these guys have left? What's that going to look like, man? People already making retirement home jokes about these guys, but hey, there's still a lot of talent on that roster, so I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Clearly there's a big difference in terms of like the talent shift from when you look at the Western Conference compared to the East. But at third, I wouldn't even say a distant third. I say it's Cleveland for sure, in the sense of the 3 top teams that could threaten the Thunder from repeating.
Yeah, I'm with you on Houston and Denver, although I just think that in a best of 7 series, I'm looking at OKC, I'm looking at Cleveland, and even with the additions, I still think they're better. My third team that could cause problems for you touched on a little bit is the Timberwolves. When you look at just the culture of winning that they have developed the last couple of years, they really feel as though they're just destined at some point to break through. And as hard as it is to win back-to-back championships, it would not surprise me if Minnesota winds up as maybe, in the top 4 in the Western Conference and just get the perfect storm of matchups that allow them to be the best version of themselves, and they play their way into their first ever NBA Finals. And would, without question, whoever they face coming out of the East, they would be the overwhelming favorite. Right now, that's the team that I think if anyone is going to dethrone OKC, I think it's going to be the Timberwolves. I just think that their time is going to come, whether it's this year, no one knows for sure, but it is definitely something that is going to be coming again sooner rather than later. Before we go any further, just want to make sure that we talk about our good friends at PrizePicks, which is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, which again is the best place to win cash while watching your favorite sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. You can mix and match your player projections from different sports, whether it's basketball, soccer, esports, you name it. PrizePicks has you covered. They invented the flex play, which means that you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can also double your money, even again, if one of your picks doesn't hit. And with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, they've made daily fantasy sports accessible to anyone and everyone. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players, and again, to take your shot at winning up to 2,000 times your cash. They also offer weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. So how do you get in? It's really simple. You just download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. And speaking of running game, a team that some think might have a little game to run this year, others think that not so much. As you know, your team that you love for so long, the Boston Celtics.
I had a feeling that sounded like a Celtic description right there. Yeah.
Yeah. As we were talking about the biggest threats to OKC, the Celtics were nowhere on the board. And that is not a surprise. I think most of us who have followed, or even the casuals who follow the NBA, would agree that the Celtics are probably not among the top 4 or 5, hell, even 10 biggest threats to.
Well, you know what, Sherrod? I'm glad you said that, because why are they so mad when the Christmas Day schedule came out? Like, come on, Celtics fans, did you really think they're going to be there? Rivalry week, I get that to a certain extent. I mean, the Celtics-Lakers is the greatest rivalry, even without Tatum. I was a little surprised that they couldn't even get in there, because the rivalry week, it's a week, right? Kind of surprised they didn't get, one of those days. But Christmas Day, man, Celtics fans were upset on Twitter. And I'm like, come on, guys, you guys had to have seen this coming.
They've had a Christmas Day game for like 8-9 years in a row. And it's great because for the last 8-9 years, they've been one of the top teams in the NBA.
So now you can chill, Sherrod. You can chill with the fam. Christmas morning, you ain't got to dress up or anything. You can do the PJs. You can do it all day if you want to. You good.
Listen, man, I have. This is the thing. I have no problem not having a game to cover if the team that I'm covering is not a top tier team. To me, the only time it bothered me was when I knew this team was really good and they're one of the better teams, and they're sitting at home chilling while you got some mediocre New York Knicks team getting love that really isn't that nice. They're just New York.
They're just New York, right?
Yeah.
And MSG too. Always that MSG. I'm like, yeah, that's
right.
True.
Yeah, but the thing about the Celtics is this, though. No one really knows how good or bad they're going to be, but they're definitely not going to be the same. They're definitely a team that it's hard to imagine that they will be better than they were a year ago, because people forget that, the Celtics this last season, they set a franchise record for most road wins ever. And they're and that's not going to happen. They may lose more road games in the first before Thanksgiving than they lost all of last season. Would not shock me because they're not quite the same. But the one thing I wanted to do, and again, keeping with the games that we're going to be playing, I want us to play another game of pick and roll, and another game called fill the lane. Now,
Okay.
this is how we're going to do it. For our game of pick and roll, I'm going to ask you, because again, we've talked about the Celtics here the last couple of minutes as just being a relatively unpredictable about what the hell is going to happen with this team. We all, I think, embrace that reality. So here's the pick and roll for you. Playoffs, play-in, or no postseason. Where do you see the Celtics season being once we get past the first 82? Ooh.
I want to say playoff, Sherrod, but man, there's some hungry teams out there. Teams that watch the Celtics, like you said, been relevant the last few years. I'm talking about the Orlando Magic. I'm talking about, to a certain extent, you can even say the Milwaukee Bucks, right? I mean, the Celtics broke their heart in 2024. Things went south last season. They thought that they had the Celtics out of the way. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like those are the teams that I don't know if the Celtics are going to have a better record at the end of the season than those guys. But it could happen. I don't know. Maybe they squeeze into the top 5. But otherwise, yeah, I'm gonna go playing. I'll go playing.
This is where you and I are on the same page. I too many things have to go right, and there are too many question marks to feel comfortable that things will go that way. I mean, like Kata would have to be like a borderline all-star for them to make the playoffs. And again, is it possible? In theory, yeah. Peyton Pritchard would have to be all-star caliber player. Is it possible? Absolutely. Do I expect it? No. They have a bench that when you start looking at who is going to be coming off the bench, especially if you throw Peyton Pritchard in the starting lineup, I mean, it's painful. It's kind of painful to look at that.
That's that position.
Yeah. I mean, there are just so many holes, so many question marks. And then, the elephant in the room that's always going to be around when you talk about the 2025, 2026 Celtics is no Jason Tatum for most, if not all of the season. It's hard to imagine this team doing better than the playing game. Because to me, the way I see it, if they're in the playing game, you feel good about where they're going, because that means that they have done enough to at least extend their season beyond that first 82. And I think for them, that has to be the goal. Can we just get some type of postseason, whether it's playing game, whether it's the 6th seed, 5th seed? But there's just so many things that have to go right for them in order to have a season that makes Celtics fans feel that, oh, you know what, this is this is who we are. And my follow-up for you, Josue, is filling in the lane. And this one is along those same lines. We've talked a little bit about just the possibilities, but from your perspective, what do you see as the best case scenario for this Boston Celtics team? What does that look like? The best case scenario, and you better not say banner 19.
No, man. That center position, man. We're talking Boucher, Kata. I mean, that's the thing that stands out to me the most, man. Like, that's such an important piece, and it has been the last 2 years. But man, I want to say Eastern Conference Finals, but man, that'd be a really, really, yeah. So I'll say that that's the absolute best case scenario. I still love this backcourt, and I'm already penciling in Peyton Pritchard alongside Derek White. I really like those two. I mean, I just think Pritchard's ready for this opportunity, and I can't wait to see what that looks like. I think Derek White can take on a more, dominant role, but like you said, man, the bench gets really thin, and this is even. I'm putting Simons in there, whether he's going to still be around by the deadline or not. It's still pretty thin. I mean, there's some borderline G leaguers that could be getting some playing time here. I mean, what's guards are going to look like? I mean, there's a lot of question marks in those, and again, the front court, I should just say, altogether. But yeah, I just think that's the best case. But the thing that I think is really on their side, and something that I feel like people are sort of just not talking about enough, is Jaylen Brown. This opportunity for him to lead and what that's going to look like. I can't wait, because as you know, Sherrod, man, we've been covering his entire career. He's crossed hurdles, it seems like every year, from losing his starting job to, after he came back from injury to, I mean, you can even say when he got booed when he got drafted, right? I mean, you can start there, but even when he finally began his career, it just seemed like there was always something there. And I feel like with this one, the way the summer started, I mean, look, I'm not saying he would be angry or mad, but let's just say if you were Jaylen Brown, how would you feel if pretty much the franchise just told you without Tatum, you're not a championship team and we're going to trade these pieces? Again, I don't think he's mad, but I do think he took it personally. Not to sound like MJ, but and I think what I mean by that is he's going to show everyone, okay, this is what it'll look like. And without Porzingis, without Drew Holiday, two very important pieces to that championship, without Al Horford, right, as his pending situation with the Warriors is still up in the air. I just think a lot of that it's gonna speak volumes to Jaylen going into this season. I mean, the way he's been hanging out in the city over this past summer, I mean, he's already taken on that leadership role. And as you and I both know, I mean, I just think they Tatum and Brown lead in different ways. Mm-hmm. Is Jaylen going to be a guy who gets in people's faces? I don't think so, but I think he'll be more vocal. Whether that's in the locker room, whether that's pulling guys to the side. So again, I want to know what that looks like because I think he can really galvanize this team to play at their absolute best. I don't think their absolute best looks like a championship. So of course, if you're the front office, I mean, I do think you did the right thing from a business standpoint, but from seeing things from Jaylen's POV, I mean, all of that matters, and I think that all that goes into this upcoming season, and he's going to show it on the court. I really do believe that. Again, it's not going to be 50 plus wins or anything like that, but I do think this other team is going to compete at a high level, and because they're in the Eastern Conference, you can get into the playoffs without a 500 record. I mean, we see it. It happens often every single year. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a playoff team, but the absolute max would be, fighting into the Eastern Conference Final. That would be a hell of an accomplishment for this team.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I came into that question with second round, but the more I thought about it, the more I listened to you, I kind of agree that Eastern Conference Finals, because one, as you pointed out, the East is very weak this year. Yeah. Two, when you talk about best case scenario, I think about having a team that's relatively healthy all season long, and thus you've got all your players for the most part available. That's a best case scenario. Jaylen Brown improving his ball handling and playmaking. If that happens, that will enhance your ability to win games. And at least one or two guys that we're not talking about develop into a better than average players, the way Derek White evolved into a borderline all-star / all NBA defender. Can Keita do that? Because if Keita is able to do that, that addresses their biggest concern and weakness, which is their front court play. And so conference finals is probably the best case scenario. And that is if, again, staying healthy, Jaylen Brown steps his game up, someone emerges from that front court. And to me, the wild card that most teams that make unexpected deep playoff runs have happened to them is you have an opponent that has a key player or two who doesn't play. Whether it's injury, illness, something goes wrong that you have zero control over, but it is a major benefit to your efforts to beat that team in a best of 7 series. That to me is a best case scenario. But again, for them to get to the conference finals, if they get there, I don't care who they're playing. That team is going to be favored to win it in 4 or 5 games. Right. Because for that team, for this team as they're constructed to get that far, you're going to have a lot of guys playing way above their heads in some big games. And we have seen time and time again how, the pressure starts weighing guys down the further along the path they go. I don't worry about Jaylen Brown. I worry if you got a guy like Anthony Simmons who's balling out for most of the season. And now all of a sudden he's in a winning culture. And now they need him to step his game up in this critical stretch. And will he rise to the occasion? Same thing with Keita. If Keita has a great regular season and you get to the playoffs and maybe he's okay in the first round, much better in the second round, what's he going to do, in that last round to get back to the finals? Right. So those, if they're able to address most, if not all of those concerns that are legitimate concerns and legitimate reasons why I feel they're more of a play-in team than a deep playoff team. If they're able to address that, then yeah, they've got a shot because again, as we talked about earlier, being in the East is the least path of resistance for teams wanting to win a championship. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, late game execution, the way these fourth quarters are going to look like throughout the regular season, it's going to be interesting because I don't I don't know if they're going to be able to scratch and crawl wins on a consistent basis when you're up against those teams that are fighting to lock down a 4 seed, or teams that are coming into their own shit. The Detroit Pistons, what they did last year was a leap in their growth. And man, you look at teams like the Pacers without Halliburton, you look at teams like the Celtics without Tatum. A lot of these teams are like, man, this is our shot, this is our year, and especially the New York Knicks, who outside of the Cleveland Cavs, I got to give them that edge that they'll finish in the top tier of the Eastern Conference without the Celtics, no question.
Yeah. And before we get out of here, for those of you listening to the show, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a host of other great Celtics-centric content. Say that 5 times fast. And one more thing. Please make sure to turn on your notifications so that you will know the instant a new video like this one drops. For my man, Josue,
share this one too.
Exactly. Josue, where can people find your work, and what are you up to this summer? Now that you have covered championship number 2 and counting, maybe.
Oh man, ClutchPoints. ClutchPoints, the Thunder page, of course. Also have some stories on there, just NBA in general. So you can check that out, of course, at ClutchPoints.com. Thunder Nation on Facebook. It's a good spot as well. If you subscribe there, plenty of my content goes out on there. Man, I got a lot of stuff working on coming out. NBA podcasts, obviously, will be a lot of Thunder talk as well, but I can't wait to launch that. So be on the lookout for sure. Follow me on Twitter at Joe_Sway. And man, in terms of like things coming up, I got some people might not know this, but Oklahoma native, star of the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young. I'm gonna have a conversation with him as soon as I get back. He's from Norman, which is about 20 minutes outside of OKC. So I'm really excited about that, man. So you can look out for that feature for sure. Talking about his career up until this point, going into next season as well. And of course, Oklahoma City Thunder. But yeah, man, got a lot of stuff coming down. It feels like we still have like 6 weeks or so before things get back into gear. But I'm starting this thing off early, man. So look out for all that, especially heading into September, post Labor Day. I feel like I'm getting right back into the swing of things for sure. I'm sure you feel the same way with the school year starting off, and the next thing you know, training camp and all that fun stuff, man. It's going to be a really entertaining season this year. I cannot wait. Schedule just came out. That time of the year, you can start seeing what your next 6-7 months are going to look like, in this crazy industry that we're in, Sherrod. And of course, the marquee matchups that are coming up, man. A lot of nationally televised games with the new deal with Amazon and NBA on NBC is back. Cue the music. I can't wait, man. I love this. It's back. It's official. I can't wait to see what it all looks like. And I feel like a lot of NBA fans feel the same way, man. So I'm with you guys, man. It's going to be a really fun season. And again, the Thunder do have a chance to repeat, but there's a handful of teams that could be in their way for sure. So I don't think it's going to be one of those seasons where it's as obvious, like I said at the top, like the Warriors did back in 2017. So
there are definitely teams that will threaten their crown. Unfortunately, Boston Celtics are probably not going to be one of them. Looking forward to the Trae Young piece that you're working on, because Trae Young might be the most disrespected superstar in the NBA. When you start looking at his numbers, and I'm sure you've done this, and we'll get out on this one, but Trae Young's numbers are like first ballot Hall of Fame worthy. When you look at his scoring and assist numbers,
no one talks about the assists. Yeah.
No, they don't. When you start looking at his numbers compared to folks who are in the Hall of Fame, who've been in the league, who were in the league at least 7-8 years, he lines up favorably with damn near every first ballot Hall of Famer point guard that we've seen. In fact, his numbers are better than many of them. So, and yet, this is a guy that, it's like the path for him to being an all-star is often him being an injury replacement. When in fact, it's like, damn, seriously? This dude, you look at the numbers he's putting up. And so anyway, but Josue, that's all you. You working on that piece. I'm looking forward to reading that.
You set it up perfectly. Appreciate you.
So this is what we do. Well, listen, that is all the time we have for today. For ClutchPoints, Josue Pavon, I am Sherrod Blakely, and this is the Big Three NBA Podcast. We out.